And everybody, welcome to the Arkansas Diamond Report with Dudley Dawson. I'm Jason Patterson. I want to thank you guys for joining us today. It is Friday, whatever you want to call it. It is the end of the work week, March 21st, 2025. Dudley, I love that shirt you got going there.
Yes, got it back in the day when VCU had Shaka Smart and went on that big run.
Mhm.
It's one of the traditions of this week, along with watching Hoosiers. The wife had never watched Hoosiers until this year with me. We've been married 13, coming up on 14 years now. She's never got involved in that, usually because it usually involved Bud Light upstairs. But we did it in the family room this year, and she, kind of both great to watch for however the 50th hour time or whatever I've watched it, but also kind of sad because of all the stuff that happened with the late Gene Hackman. So,
Yeah, that was unfortunate. And when you have an actor that is such an icon that he transcended what I think 5 or 6 decades in
yes.
the movie industry. And it's amazing. It's so great to be able to watch those, especially this time of the year, because to me, I know for you and a few others, that this is basically like a second Christmas day for us.
Yep. And then the third one comes up next Thursday, which is the true beginning of the Major League Baseball season. Instead of playing the two games in Japan, those counted. But
Yep.
I'm just saying when they all play on the same day, that's when it starts. And look forward to it. That should be a national holiday. Like kids should be out of school. I did check and make sure that my wife's birthday was not on the Thursday and our anniversary is not on Thursday, so I can call it the best two Thursdays of the year without any hesitation.
Hey, it's all about the preparation. It's all about the preparation there.
And doing your
Um,
research before you say stuff.
that's, that's always true. Because I mean, listen, we put our foot in our mouth more times than we can probably count. We got to limit it. You got to keep the L's to a limit at some point, sometime.
True that. True that.
So let's talk about you're talking about little league, a little bit of Major League Baseball. What we were just talking about a little bit ago. He's got some Hagen Smith news.
Yeah, it looks like he's going to start the year along with fellow super left-handed prospect, Chicago White Sox in Birmingham, and going to put up a story after we're done here, just tidying it up about the 10 former Arkansas players who played last Thursday through Saturday, or at least were on teams. Not all of them got into the Major League Baseball spring breakout, which is kind of a showcase event for them. These last couple of years, Hagen got in, pitched 2 innings, banned a couple, walked a couple, didn't allow any runs. Nolan Schultz did the same thing. So it may be a minute, but the White Sox, just like the Oklahoma City Thunder in basketball, Washington Redskins in football, have it appears to have done a pretty good job at setting up the future, even though they really suck right now and they know it. They're not going out spending lots of money on current players because they know their window is coming up in a couple of years, but they certainly are going to have pitching. They've really got 3 great prospects that are pitchers. You got to give that front office a lot of credit. I, of course, wish Hagen was pitching in St. Louis and would have gone two pitchers later, but also I like J.J. Weatherholt, who St. Louis got out of in that 7th spot. So it's all good. But I think for the most part, all the kids, I think 6 of the 10 got in. Jace Brofin may have had the most activity, had a couple bats, scored a couple runs. Peyton Stovall didn't play, but was selected the team. And just we'll have that whole list up there after this is over with, and also a preview later on today of a Arkansas South Carolina matchup. Arkansas 20-2, and you've got South Carolina at 17-5, and featuring an old familiar face in former LSU head coach Paul Maneri.
So real quick, where can we find all of these stories that you're putting up?
Hogbill.net, they'll be up there. That's free, as Otis and Lanny like to say all the time, free for your perusal. And
Yep.
yeah, and also we'll have tomorrow the women's softball team is not playing till Saturday, Sunday, Monday this weekend. They're Tennessee as they continue a very tough early stretch. Need to go win at least one, if not a couple, this weekend. And that'll be tough because Tennessee's always been really good. And but outside of the Ole Miss, when they lost 2 of 3 a couple weeks ago, they had won 15 of their last 16 series on the road. So we'll see if they can continue that magic with the take the Bogle bombing, on the road.
Yeah, I want to go back to that South Carolina series coming up this weekend. This is Arkansas's first league series of the 2025 season. And I know that Arkansas had great wins this weekend over ORU during the week. It was pretty stout pitching as far as for sure on Wednesday, or was it Tuesday, wasn't it?
Yeah, Tuesday and Wednesday, Tuesday night, Wednesday
Yeah,
afternoon.
Wednesday night. Yeah.
Colin Fisher, obviously got righted, after his one bad inning he had at Ole Miss. Then Bobby pitched well. Several others got in and had the opportunity to kind of tune up for this weekend, which, by the way, in looking at the release, it looks like they're going Zach Root, Gabe Geichel, and Landon Beetlejuice in that same order this weekend.
I'd love to see a little bit more of some Aiden Jimenez. I know that he's more on the pitch count still, but I feel like it's a guy that might, towards the end of the season, might be able to contend for that Sunday spot.
Yeah, he's certainly going to piggyback one of these guys. Any of these guys that falter that first time. You've got Colin Fisher, you've got Will McIntyre, obviously, you've got Aiden Jimenez, you've got some other guys that come out of that bullpen. They're trying to get Cole Gibler, in some high leverage situations. As a young freshman they like. Obviously, Parker Cole has been good there in stretches, and Carson Wiggins and Christian Pouch also are guys that and Dylan Carter. I can just keep going on and on because I keep thinking of guys that pitch. But it's they need to be more consistent. They were not consistent last weekend. Gave up too many runs. Obviously, Gabe settled down. Got pitched 4 innings, the last 3, which didn't have as much traffic as the first inning did, which was a lot of traffic. And he worked out of it. But pitching's going to be a key. But as we saw in this week, and something you don't normally see, a 12-run at bat. I was telling somebody the other day that you don't see that unless you're a youth coach who's coaching his kids. They bat around and they make them sit down after they bat around. They make it flip to the other side. But we didn't get that opportunity. If they kept going for ORU, who is not having as good a year, obviously, as they did when they went to the College World Series in 2022, but 2023, I think it was actually Arkansas had failed in that first game to move the runners across the plate very much, but certainly got it done in that game. And they're going to go into this weekend at home and probably feeling pretty good about their bats and just hoping that the starting pitching gives them some consistent early innings. And, you don't want to have to rally in the fashion that you did last weekend. That's great to see. It's great theater. I'm amazed at the number of people who said they were calling the Viejo Eloy home run. Thought it was interesting since they were down to their last, out before everybody forgets about, Charles Davalon and the other guys, Logan Maxwell, those guys getting it done, ahead in that inning. Play from the front. Play from the front. Play from the up tees instead of the back.
That 12-run inning in the fourth in the second game against ORU, that was sparked by that 448 foot home run by Nolan Souza. It was nice to see him kind of get out of the ditch a little bit. He's been batting, I think, right around 176 before that. That sparked that 12-run inning. I would like to see or like to hope that that's something that can kind of get him going again, because I understand that he's out there still because of his defense, but they really could use that bat. I know it sounds crazy with how well they're batting right now, but when you add a little bit more power to that lineup, it just makes it a little bit even tougher. For instance, with South Carolina coming in this weekend.
Yeah, technically, Cam Cozil is the second baseman, even though they've have played him at first and put him some other places. But you'd like to have a spot there. Whoever's hitting out of those three guys, Rocco Pepe, the Nolan Sousa, and Cam Cozil, they're going to kind of rotate, and he's going to play them and to get the at bats from them. They're all decent on defense. Michael Anderson is a guy who was first baseman during the fall, the biggest of the first basemen, and certainly a guy who could barrel up some home runs in the fall and all that. But we haven't seen him. Reese Robinette is going in at first base there late as a defensive replacement. But that's kind of a thing there. Whoever's being consistent in hitting and playing good defense, both of those things are going to factor in who's playing against right-handers, who's playing against left-handers. But to tell you what, every Hawaiian on this baseball team that runs into a baseball, it flies.
Yeah, it
Bubba
does.
Carpenter and Phil Elson, the radio announcers, were just sure somebody was going to hit one out on the street with that wind that was blowing the other day, 40 miles an hour, and all that. Didn't get there, but finally did get it up and get going.
If you're into the prop bets too, I think that would be a good investment on your.
I've seen it happen, just not in the game. I've seen it happen in scrimmages and stuff. So,
man, I'm telling you, those three guys are just ridiculous. And what's really interesting too is that it seemed like last year this was the same problem that they were having, but in the outfield. Now it's just migrated towards to the infield now. I don't know if that's something that Dave is going to do you think Dave's just going to keep this open for the rest of the season? Whoever happens to be producing at that moment instead of just riding with two guys?
Well, I figure he wants to ride two guys, but he's having to mix and match right now, and he'll do that until somebody grabs a hold of those two positions. And obviously, Cam Cozil really is the guy who he's getting into the lineup right now, either at first base or second base. The other two, you have the opportunity to play if you hit. And, and in different situations, you got left-handers, gets right-handers and all those kind of things. So those matchup type things. But, he's like every other manager. He wants to be able to have a pretty set lineup. Against a different type of pitching, you might one day do this, one day do that. But he's using these midweek games to try to get that going into the weekend. And certainly all of those guys, including Pepe, have had some big hits this year or been involved in innings that turned into big innings by getting it started.
Yep. So again, it's going to be 6:30 first pitch this evening at Baum-Walker Stadium. Zach Root's going to be going tonight for the Hogs. He'll be on the bump. So the softball team, they're going to be out of town. We were just talking about this a couple minutes ago. They're going to be facing the number 7 team in the nation, Tennessee Volunteers. Anytime that you go up against Tennessee, it's going to be tough. I like to see the fact that the ladies kind of got off the snide after that. They'd had the final 2 games of the Oklahoma series were great. They kept in it. They stayed in it. It was just, and really honestly, the first game too, except for that last inning, it was very competitive throughout the entire weekend. Got off the snide against UCA with a 6-3 win midweek. But now you're going on the road to Tennessee. And like you said, if you can get one out of those 3, I think you would really want to call that a success, because I think as the season goes on, I think that schedule does get a little bit easier for Courtney and the Bombers.
You'd like to go 6-0 the next 2 weeks. Kentucky coming in here next weekend. But that the likelihood that it happens is probably not very good. You at least have to go 3-3, I think. Put yourself to where you're 1-5 in conference play right now. You don't want to be 4-8. You don't want that to be the gold standard, obviously, but at the same time, I think that's what you need to get out of these next 2 weeks at minimum to still have yourself be a contender, which I think this team is. And I think they would have grabbed them that first game against Oklahoma. Robin Herron pitched well if they had got something out of that first inning when they had 2 runners on. They were able to get Bree Ellis out and then, pitched around her pretty much the rest of the game, or, maybe not around her, but off the plate and give her the opportunity to get. But I think that Arkansas missed their chance in the first inning of that first game, and that set the tone for what turned into a great pitcher's duel. And then Oklahoma broke it off in the I guess the seventh, and then the last two games were somewhat of slugfest. In both teams. Oklahoma has a lot of change, but they're still really good, and that was a measuring stick. And in fact, I tried to ask it the right way. Ask Coach Deifel, you didn't win the games this weekend, but you were right there. No coach wants to hear that, but that's a question you have to ask.
Yep.
You're not looking for, you want a coach to say we're not into moral victories. If we've done this, we've done that. Coach, she answered it really well in terms of how, we're right there, but it doesn't matter. You can't be right there. You got to win ball games.
Yeah, because so I was looking at the schedule, and I have to go back on what I had said. It does not get any easier because after Kentucky, you follow it up with Florida, and then you have South Carolina come in the weekend after that, and South Carolina
was undefeated until they played Oklahoma.
And still they played them tough that entire weekend.
10-9. A couple games were 10-9. Yeah, and one of them went into.
Yeah, and so it's like
it is a beast. Is the B word I'm going to use? B word I'm thinking.
And it's a 5-letter B word too.
Mm-hmm.
So it works. Man, I'm gonna tell you, this coaching search for Arkansas basketball or Arkansas women's basketball I feel like it's kind of like an old country road a little bit. There's a lot of switchbacks. There's a lot of turns. There's not been a straight path at this point. I understand that the NCAA tournament probably kicked off about 20 minutes ago for the women. But at the end of the day, there's been names floated out there. I don't think that there has been moments where it's just kind of okay, we're going to see what the barometer is. I think that people are really just some folks are just throwing names out there to throw names out there. I know you're not, but I feel like some folks are out there throwing 6 and 7 names out there to see if it sticks, just in case.
Well, here's what I've surmised out of this. I was told that maybe there was going to be some more money put into this, and that would help the search. But it doesn't look like that's been the case because Kelly Harper, who was one of the coaches, the former Tennessee coach, who was an SEC analyst this year in the studio, took the Missouri job. That was also a rumored maybe place for Molly Miller, who has done a tremendous job at Grand Canyon. I think it's 30 wins in a row as they get ready to go into she's the hottest candidate out there right now, both literally and figuratively. Not afraid to say that. We're all thinking it. But from what I understand, she's turned it down because there was not going to be enough NIL money and enough money put into the program to be able to compete. You might make more money up front salary-wise, but what good is that if you're not going to have the ability to compete in the SEC?
Yeah.
And so I think what we're finding out here, and yes, because the NCAA tournament is going on, it does slow things down. Unlike Will Wade and McNeese State, doesn't get released. You're going somewhere else, 10 minutes before you play.
Yeah.
And by the way, the reporter who got that scoop did the right thing, put that out there. That's not the reporter's fault. The reporter's job is to get the news and get it out there. If it's before a game, if it's during a game, the North Carolina State people and Will Wade and them should have kept it to themselves. And right win for them. He can really coach. There's no doubt about that. And I do think it's funny, and these were his words. I'm quoting him, that he got fired basically at LSU over making a strong-ass offer to a player he didn't get, so that came out. But now those things are now legal to do. And he's going to be a great candidate. I'm sure he's going to do great down at North Carolina State. I thought it was interesting that he went there. I thought there might be a few more openings that you might have, DeVries that got the Indiana job is going to take his son Tucker with him. I thought that might have been a great place for we'll wait to go. And but we're gonna have some movement in both the men's and the women's game here. Some of it's going on as the tournament is going on. Each time somebody loses, and I don't know if it's official yet, but the Texas people are saying Rodney Terry, because he lost, is out. The beat writers down there. You know, you made it into the tournament, but you made it. You lost in the play-in game, and you had Trey Johnson, who had a fantastic year. He's going to be a top.
He was a great
draft pick, but you let it get away from there. So it's tough out here for SEC coaches. The two that didn't get in, they're safe to come back because of what they did the year before, or the situations that they're currently in. But man, you're gonna have 14 teams in the NCAA tournament. Your job security is number 15 and 16. Probably exist 1 year. You can have one down year, but then you got to get it going.
Yep. And I think what you're going to see too with these coaching contracts that are starting to pop up over the next, I would say, 18 to 24 months are the fact that there's not going to be a lot of huge buyouts now, because these schools don't have the money to be putting out, 10, 12, $15 million for a buyout, because now that money is going to be shifted towards rev share. And so really can't, those days of those contracts are gone.
Yeah. And another thing that Brandon Marcello, who lives around us here, worked with me for a while here in Northwest Arkansas. I think he was a great young reporter back then. He's become a great veteran reporter now. He had a story talking about how it looks like now that they're going to at least go 11 full functioning NIL scholarships next year. I think everybody, including Coach Cal, has figured that out, that injuries, and you can't. I mean, what a tremendous job in getting them to the finish line with putting your best players down and not having anything but practice players left on the bench outside of those 7. And I'm not denigrating them. That's what he called it. That's what they call themselves. But you can't do that. You got enough money, spread it around. And to be honest with you, it's interesting that now 2 of the players who were getting the most heat because they were getting the most money and not performing up to the fan standards, their standards, the coaches' standards, both had tremendous games last night.
Leveled up this week.
Yeah, they could cash that check this week for sure. And it wasn't that they'd forgotten how to play basketball. They were hurt. Different situations. When Boogie Flan got hurt, John L. Davis got to put in a different type role and has thrived in it. So, that was a pretty good basketball team we watched last night beat Kansas. It's one of the few games where I don't have rooting interest, but I have certainly more interest than usual. A lot of people know that Bill Self is one of, if not my closest friend in the coaching industry from Coach Sutton backgrounds. And told somebody the other day, I sat by him at Coach Sutton's funeral, sat by him at Miss Sutton's funeral, and we've had great conversations over the year. It was a tough year for him. A lot of people would like to have that be their tough year. And I'm sure he'll be back next year, but he didn't have the pieces that he normally would fit together. And last night you saw a team playing well. At the end of the season, they get someone that was just pushing it across the finish line.
I want to put this out there too last night, because I wanted to talk a little bit about that game last night too. KJ Adams, I feel like he was the linchpin for Kansas last night. Once he goes down with that Achilles injury, which from what Bill was talking about in his post game last night, was that it's an Achilles injury. They didn't think that there was going to be any good news from that injury today either after he gets a scan done. Possibly might miss the entire season next year. Arkansas goes on a 15-5 run. Kansas turns the ball over 3 out of 4 possessions. Right after that happens, that led really to Arkansas's victory last night. Because I think if Adams stays in the game, there's a possibility Arkansas does not win that game last night at all.
Arkansas got up 55-44 because they weren't turning the ball over in the first half and the early part of the second half. Kansas got back in it from their shooting, and because Arkansas started to have a rash of turnovers, and then Arkansas didn't have the turnovers, down the stretch again. And as you mentioned, KJ Adams was not available there at the end. Coach Self, which I call him in professional situations, did a great job by going to the zone, and that clearly, messed with Arkansas a little bit. They didn't get the type of shots they were getting early. But I tell you one thing: you look back on this, and a lot of times I listen to Chuck and Zim on the radio. Sometimes I listen to the TV announcers, try to do get opinions of both. I thought the play-by-play guy last night did a great job. I thought the color guy needed to shut the heck up. There were some points that he made that were good, but you don't have to talk throughout the entire broadcast. You're supposed to paint the picture, not unload the paint bucket.
It's like he broke into a Sherwin-Williams store and stole it all and decided to throw it all on the screen at once.
I have decided not to remember his name. I probably should go look it up, and I'm sure he does a great job. That's why he's doing those things. But I just thought he talked too much last night, and that's saying a lot because I've been accused of that myself.
I'm going to tell you what, I'm sure people in the truck were yelling in his earpiece, less is more. Less is more.
Yeah. Gosh. 2 Hall of Fame candidates. Yeah. Okay, we got it.
Yeah, I mean, that literally was the run-up to that game last night, was that point, and didn't need to drive it home anymore. Now, I will say this. Tomorrow, 1:40 on CBS, Arkansas St. John's.
Woohoo. I like 140 better than I do 8:45 and all that. I was afraid because it was this type of coaching matchup that they were going to put it down there, in one of those time slots, hopefully. But they got it to 140, so looking forward to that. We've got 3 TVs here in the office. That one will be on basketball. That one will be on baseball. But hey, I thought you had a great tweet or X or whatever we're calling it now. Early in the week about joking about how the NCAA selection committee doesn't try to get these stories together.
Yeah,
sure, not at all. I mean, that they were hoping, and even if it was Kansas versus St. John's, that's still a good matchup. But everybody was hoping that the former Kentucky coach was going to get the opportunity to play the other former Kentucky coach. The only thing that's bad about it or whatever is having it in Providence instead of Lexington, Kentucky, which I think they missed a chance there. They sent Louisville there in Louisville.
Yeah.
I filled out 4 brackets. I know that Miss Mims doesn't like that. Our colleague Courtney Mims doesn't like it, but I filled out 4 because that's who I am. That's what I do.
Yeah.
I got 15 out of 16 on one, 14 out of 16 on other, and 2 13s. I feel real good about my McNeese pick. I feel real good about my Creighton pick. I'm looking forward to the games today. But, the storylines are there, and it's going to be a classic show on the sidelines. I just wish they both would wear white suits.
I was going to make that point that maybe they should have this huge thing where folks, whenever they come up to the gate tomorrow, they're given an Adidas tracksuit or a Nike tracksuit or some type of mob boss tracksuit that everybody could fill up the entire arena and make them feel so much more at home.
Shout out to Jim Robkin back in the day at Barnhill Arena when he came in, when Coach Patino came in with Kentucky back then. They played the Godfather theme, and he was dressed in one of those mafioso suits looking. It was Tony Soprano before Tony Soprano was there. But that was just one of the awesome off-court moments or whatever. And obviously another one is getting a lot of work this week is the Coach Cal getting thrown out here at Arkansas. And game he won, that a lot of people kind of forget that. He got thrown out, and there they came and won that ball game.
This is kind of an interesting full circle game for both of these coaches as well, because, Rick Pitino started out at Providence in his career. Also,
to the NCAA tournament.
Yep. And then Cal started his career at UMass and had that great run there before he moved on to the NBA. And having both of these coaches in such close proximity from where they started, you would think that this game is going to attract more locals than probably folks that traveled for this game.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun watch. I think my first time I met Cal was actually in the birthplace of basketball, supposedly Springfield, Massachusetts, at the Hall of Fame game they had up there. Went up there to cover it. It was the day after Thanksgiving. Marcus Camby was playing there. They beat Arkansas. He was the defending national champion coming back, and it was such a game that I remember that game. And the other thing I remember that it was Thanksgiving night and there were no restaurants open there in Springfield near my Holiday Inn. And I ended up having a Thanksgiving meal of things that you get out of cans. And yeah, I used to eat for lunch on the tractor, like beanie weenies, potted meat. That was my Thanksgiving dinner from there's the kind of things we have now. All these gas stations that have all this great food. So that wasn't the case back then. I had to, it only cost like $10, but it was a smorgasbord of stuff that you had on the farm for lunch. If you didn't get to go to Amigan that day for the plate lunch. So
that does sound a little rough. I mean, if that's something you're used to, great, but at the same time, that could be a little rough too if you're having to kind of go back to those roots a little bit.
Pigs in a blanket, yeah. Beanie weenies, not so much. You'll eat them when you need to, but there's variations of those things. I mean, that potted meat looks like the stuff that I used to feed the dogs.
Yeah,
they've got a much better clientele of food now that Patriot took over that job. So.
I will say this: there is a spam museum. Did you know this?
Have not been there.
It's a legit spam museum as you're driving towards Rochester, Minnesota. I have been by it a couple different times. Have not stopped, but have drove by it. And it's a little off the side of the road. Can't miss it. Seriously, cannot miss it. It's a pretty good size little museum that they've got there, but it is an actual thing that they have a spam museum in southern Minnesota.
One of my sons, and I won't say which one, wrapped him out like that. Was here at the house one day and cooked spam in a frying pan. Mm-hmm. God, if you hadn't had it in a while, it smelled fantastic. But I was like, "What's that smell? Spam, boy."
You probably thought it was some hot dogs there for a minute because I mean that's
yeah.
Ooh, so good.
But enough about my diet.
We're telling ourselves at this point, man. All right, well, Dudley, let's get you out of here. You got a busy day today between women's basketball, men's basketball, baseball, softball, hell, you name it, it's happening. The only thing that's not happening today, football. They are going to be off for now through April 1st, and that's when they'll resume practice again. I'm sorry, April 2nd, I do believe is when it is, that Tuesday. So
shout out to our guy Otis Kirk for the effort he's put in with football. We got so much stuff going on now. It's kind of hard for all of us to help each other out, but we try to do it as best we can. But I know that he's having a great day today because there's not football and because Bronny James scored 17 points last night in a game. So,
yeah, get the detractors off his back for at least a few days.
Yeah. Damn idiot.
Man. All right. Oh, hey, and real quick before we get out of here, sale of the Celtics. That was I was anticipating that might be something that would happen towards the off season, but having it towards the rear end of the season that the Celtics are having, I thought that was interesting that they would release that information now versus maybe after.
Excited for the guy that got it. He's a longtime Celtic fan from birth and all that. Apparently my bid of $5.9 billion was knocked out by his $6.1 billion. He's got a great situation there right now, and he's got like 2 or 3 years before he's going to have to recalibrate everything. There's a window right there, and you've got 2 of your guys taking up a ton of money. You're going to have to pay some salary cap stuff, but you won one. Are you going to win a second one? I would say probably not this year. I think either Cleveland or OKC is going to win it. But then again, both those teams are still fairly young. So maybe, when it comes time, we can run this thing to 19 and put a little distance between the Celtics and the Lakers.
Yep. That's going to be interesting. Hey, man, my Spurs are going to hopefully come back a little bit healthier next year, too, with De'Aaron and Wemby. And
yeah, that's another team that's getting De'Aaron was and I think that was an absolute steal.
It was a fleecing. That's what that was.
Yeah, and Victor Wembanyama, I was thinking, what? Oh, cool. Stephon Castle and those other guys, they've got Keldon Johnson. They've got a really good young team.
They do.
And they're still going to be in position to have pretty good draft picks. If they somehow get in that lottery with the other people's picks as well, watch out. Cooper Flagg.
Man.
Ron Harper Jr.
That would be an embarrassment of riches.
Ray Johnson is just going to keep going. Shout out to the OKC guy. What a heck of a team he put together. They were the worst team in the NBA and arguably the best now in just a matter of 5 years.
Yeah.
You let go of Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook.
Serge Ibaka.
Yeah, Serge Ibaka, some great players, but you're loaded right now. What a job. Yeah.
And the fact that Lou Dort was your dude 3 years ago, and now you've got SGA, Holmgren, and the Williamses, and all. Golly, I'm telling you.
Yeah. They have anointed SGA as the player of the year this year, and he should be. There's a lot of other really good players in the NBA, but nobody has that consistency in every category like he has, and he's lifted that team, and that's what you look for in an MVP.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. My boy's going to get one of them one day. Tatum, who, by the way, shout out to Tatum over here for being quiet during the show.
Yeah, I know. He's been quiet as a church mouse today. He's been doing real good.
He had his first March Madness yesterday. He's a little wore out from it, I think it was I had Creighton, and they ran hit like 3 3-pointers in a row, and I let up my first boom around him. So he didn't know how to react to that. So Eddie had Creighton.
I yelled that last night whenever Nelly hit that 3 towards the end. I yelled, "Dagger!" And the dog jumped up and looked at me and started looking around. My kid came into the room, and she's like, "Are you fine? What happened?" I was like, "Nelly just won the game. It's okay."
My late friend Fred that passed, he got to hear onions a lot of time. So I didn't quite know what was going on there. He headed to the kitchen, but Tatum over here, he's gonna learn some things as we go along this weekend, I think.
Yeah. Well, man, let's get you out here. Full day today, and we'll do this again next Friday, 10:30. Also, make sure to head over to the YouTube page and also on hogville.net for part 2 of the Arkansas Heroes series, Razorbacks of the 80s. I know last night it was released at 6 p.m. I had some folks that were kind of scratching their head going, "Hey, you know that this basketball game started at 6:10.
You can watch it at any point. By the way, in that mode, shout out to both Limbo Parks.
Happy birthday to him.
Here, and Steve Eager, one of my friends and a friend of Limbo's, is where both of their birthdays are today. So shout out to them for being, what are y'all, 70, 80? I
don't know. I mean,
I believe around my age.
I think Limbo's probably hovering around that 70 mark. I think.
Fans, so they've been insufferable the last couple of years as the Chiefs have won and the Cowboys have cowboyed.
That's the truth, man. All right, well, we'll see you later. We'll see you guys next Friday at 10:30 for the Diamond Report. Got Otis and the Football Report next Thursday at 7 p.m. live at Torchy's. So be on the lookout for all of those, and we'll see you next week, and go Hogs.